Hello and welcome to a review video for FuboTV, a new TV streaming service. Well, fairly new at least. This was a company originally founded, focused on soccer, I believe. Anyway, we're not here to go into their history or anything like that. We're going to be looking at their web interface, their Roku interface, and their Fire TV interface, and maybe even their Android interface. First, I'd like to discuss why I chose those platforms. Aside from the fact I don't have any other streaming boxes or consoles that streams Fubo, I would like to point out that according to comscore.com and their proprietary technology, over-the-top streaming devices still account for more than gaming consoles, as I very crudely point this out on a web browser. And Roku still eats up a massive chunk of the pie when it comes to OTT streaming devices as of March 2016, with Amazon Fire in there, along with Chromecast, Apple TV, and that little sliver of others. Sony, give up on the streamers. No one likes you. I'm sure there's probably like Samsung TV in there as well. Anyway, interestingly enough, most streaming services have better interfaces on Fire TV than Roku, despite this, factoid here. Either that's because their marketing team is very poor at seeing where all the consumer interest is, or, and this is more likely, Fire TV is easier to develop apps for because it is Android based. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop to another tab here. We're going to be looking at Fubo's main website interface here. If you go to fubo.tv, www.fubo.tv, you'll be presented their welcome page, and by all means this definitely looks sports focused, but something interesting has happened recently. If you find Fubo ads embedded in web pages, you might find variants of their website. For example, if you go and click on one of their sports-oriented advertisements, you'll be presented a link to this page advertising, if you can even see sports in the URL up there. And it kind of focuses, best of sports. Down here, frequently asked questions. FuboTV is a sports-centric internet TV streaming services. Sports. Well, that's not sports. But you might also click on an ad that brings you to this page, which is what I think Fubo is starting to reorient themselves to target. That's people interested in entertainment. As you can see up here in the URL, ENT, entertainment, and instead of the title stream and DVR live sports, and with the sports background, this one instead has a advertisement showing off TV shows and stuff like that. And we go down here, best shows from the channels you love, focused on non-sports stuff. It describes itself as an internet TV streaming service. It's pretty much the same thing as down here, just worded around differently. And they don't focus nearly as much on sports. Entertainment, and then sports. And then back to entertainment again. So, we're going to be looking at it in competition with DirecTV, PlayStation Vue, both of which I will be doing videos on. But this time we are focusing on Fubo. So let's look at their main interface. Once you're logged into Fubo, you will get this interface. This is their main homepage that you end up on after signing in with their service. And yeah, sports oriented. You got all the games. If they're live, you can click to watch them. If they're not live, you can click to DVR them. In other words, if they're upcoming. You can switch what type of game you want up here. Over here you can do the same thing. Not sure why it's in two different places. And up here we switch to entertainment. So this is the entertainment splash page, homepage. On here, you can see everything that's live, and this scrolls horizontally, like many tile-based streaming services do. Recently aired. So there's a lot of on-demand content, and a lot of recently aired shows end up on demand shortly after they air. This is notable in like Fox News. Say hypothetically, Hannity just aired. It will show up in recently aired, and you can play it back, which is nice. You don't necessarily need a DVR so much when news things are put up on demand. Some services, I guess, call that 72-hour rewind, but I don't know if that's really happening on Fubo's backend or the network's backend. Either way, that doesn't happen with all providers like DirecTV. You cannot watch a lot of networks stuff on their 72-hour rewind function, which does a similar thing. It allows you to watch things that have recently aired, which is bad if you watch content on that network, because that means you have to be there to watch it live, because DirecTV, as of right now, July 2017, does not have a DVR function. Their 72-hour rewind is all they have. Live movies. Also, anytime you start recording any of these programs, apparently, I've not actually used this functionality much, but if it's partially aired, supposedly when you record it, it will record the whole program. Or at least that's what their information says it does. Go over to series. Now, interestingly enough, FuboTV omits any and all semblance of search functionality. So if you want to find a series, like say Frasier, you have to go to what it is, a series or a movie, and then go to, in series, alphabetical order. So F for Frasier. And do we have it? Yep, there it is right there. Click on it, and bam, you get all the episodes. It'll tell you when it originally aired, when it expires and becomes unavailable for watching. And there's quite a bit of content. Let's say, hypothetically, I want... I just mentioned Hannity. Why not click on H for Hannity? Bam, right there. And we have when it aired and when it expires and becomes unavailable. So that's handy. Other programs, let's see. I'm going to cheat here a bit. Let's go to the guide. And we're just going to find something on another network. Let's try... Shark Tank, CNBC. So, entertainment, series, S for Shark Tank, and find it in the list. There it is. Excellent, awesome. Let's see. How about MSNBC? I don't know. That one, Hardball, with Chris Matthews. Series H. That one is not available, so perhaps that one is not part of this program. Maybe that network is not part of the on-demand series of networks. How about, it's another serialized thing I can test on a different network. Oh, I know. How about Pawn Stars? Series. P. And nope. So as you can see, mileage does vary. If I go to A for American Pickers, anything in here? Nope. All right, well, that's fine. Now, that is supplemented by TV on the go applications. So, for example, I already knew that History, unless they changed something, didn't have programming available. However, History does have Fubo as a provider, So you can use their TV on the go app, which is nice. They don't have that for travel, sadly enough, but they do for history. So that's something that DirecTV, for example, does not have. It does not have, I think, any A&E networks login credentials for those apps. So you're limited to their very, very limited on-demand pickings. So we've seen the guide. What's the guide do? I keep going through here. I haven't explained it. So obviously we have the networks on the left. We have this yellow orangish line, which shows us where we are currently in time. We also have these highlighted squares, the kind of tan squares versus the white squares. These are programs that are currently, airing because the orange-yellow line is cutting through it. Logical, right? And these are episodes, all the white ones that haven't aired yet, or possibly have already aired. So you click on the network, or you click on the show, and it will load it up. Something I had the hardest time figuring out is how do I DVR things that are about to air? Now, in logical line of thinking is you click on the program, right? Now, there's two things I want to point out here. One is I didn't think the guide went past 3 hours into the future, 4, 5, 6. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom, the very bottom of the list here, there is a horizontal scroll bar, and this allows you to scroll to the right. And indeed appears as though they have 6 hours of programming on their guide. Why only 6 hours? I'm not sure, but yeah, 6 hours all the way up to 8 p.m., even though right now we are at 3 p.m. 5 hours. 5 hours of programming. Although it does seem like it did show more during my previous testing on the FireStick. I'm curious now if the FireStick shows more programming. Anyway, you cannot click on any of these future programs. So how do you DVR them? There is this DVR. I'll show you the DVR here. On the right, we've got how many things I've got recorded. I've got how many things are scheduled to be recorded, and I've got what's available. The obvious ways of recording things are in here in the sports area, obviously. These live programs have record buttons. Those can be recorded, record. Sports is very straightforward. If you go to entertainment, there's a record button. And pretty much anywhere in here, if you click on a program, let's see, boop. Up in the right-hand corner, it says record to DVR. I don't want to play that too much. I don't want to have to block everything. So how do you record things in the future? The answer is very obscure. You have to go to series. And you have to go to upcoming. And you have to find what you want to watch in upcoming. Because if you notice, if I hover over it, there's the record DVR button. This is the only area I've been able to figure out. Now, I even emailed them to verify that there was no way to record or schedule recordings for programs that weren't sports. Now, they gave me the impression by flat out saying non-sports programming cannot be recorded if it takes place in the future. You can only record things that are live because you have to start playing something and get that record button on the upper right-hand corner in order to start recording it. But recording live content is superfluous. Why have a DVR? Unless you're at work and quickly whip out your phone, turn it to a network with what is airing at the time it's airing to hit that record button. Indeed, you can do it right here under the upcoming area. So just scroll through. We've got most things from most networks. It appears as though pretty much every network is recordable, as I'm seeing pretty much all of them on here. I guess ones like MSNBC aren't on here. We have a Fox. Oh, there's MSNBC. We have Fox. I saw history and travel back here. So you can start recordings that way. if it takes place in the future and happens to be in the upcoming area. Otherwise, there's not really any way to record it that I've been able to figure out. Of course, we go to my DVR. You can click on any of these things. Anything that's recorded in DVR, you can fast forward and rewind, which I will show in the Amazon Fire section of this video. You have no access to the DVR on Roku, unfortunately. They say their Roku app is still beta. It's extremely rough, a bit like PlayStation View's Roku app. So that's unfortunate. You delete these and you free up slots. By the way, so you only have 6 available. I have 4 recorded. You get 10 slots total. Those slots last 10 days before they expire. So yeah, you can only record 10 things at a time. So if you have 1 hour programs, it's only 10 hours of recording versus, say, for example, Hulu Live's 50. Anyway, but we're not here to discuss other services too much. Let's go ahead and kick over to some of the other platforms. I think I've pretty much covered everything on the PC side of things. Guess I didn't look at movies real quick. So movies, what's live, recently aired, and, on demand now. Guardians of the Galaxy, good movie. Upcoming, Guardians of the Galaxy again. And again, upcoming, you can record it right here. That gives you the DVR recording function. For some insane reason, I kept trying to do that through the guide because that makes too much sense, I suppose. Now, instead of having alphabetical sorting in the movies category, you have genre. So, action, comedy, drama, horror, romance, science fiction, and family. If it doesn't meet any of those categorizations, good luck finding it. There's no search function. Now, these might seem like major oversights, but you got to remember, Fubo, up until the beginning of the year, only really dealt with sports, and sports is categorized and handled exactly like you would expect it. You select your genre of sports, you find the game that you're looking for. Everything's very straightforward and simple. I'm not into sports, but a lot of people are. You click on the little calendar down here and you see all the different dates that sports events may take place. By the way, no ESPN, so if you absolutely have to have that, you may as well stop here. But yeah, so up until then, this is all they had. Speaking of which, of all the channels you get, there we go. Here's all the channels you get. BN Sports, there's a lot of BN Sports channels. If I go to the guide, you can see that there's, BN. So yeah. But this is all the entertainment channels you get. A good selection. National Geographic, you got the history, travel, you've got HGTV, Fox, MSNBC, no CNN, a couple of missing channels. You got Syfy, you got FX, Hallmark channels. So yeah, and it's available on Apple, Android, Chromecast, Fire TV, Roku, and Apple TV. So, woo! Fun. Let's kick over to the Fire, as I said I was going to earlier, and we'll take a look at it on that. Alright, so here we have our main Fire TV interface. We're going to go ahead and hop into Fubo here. And we have a similar interface to PC, where we've got all the games on the right lower quadrant. Every this versus that going on, with the option to record on DVR, which is bizarre. So there is some tiny DVR functionality in Fubo to actually record things and view them back. Not in entertainment, however. Left-hand side over here, all the different types of games. Organized slightly differently than on the PC interface. So popping over to channels here. This is just a very rudimentary grid interface of all the channels on the service. So clicking on any of these just brings you to a live whatever is on that channel. So this kind of takes the place of the entertainment tab on the web browser version of their site, that is. And you can get a more thorough look at all the channels that the package includes, along with all the BN networks. Hopping over to schedule. This is just the guide from earlier. Very similar. I wouldn't be surprised if this was some sort of HTML5 container pulling the exact same interface from PC. Now, if you notice, my cursor is stuck on the time slot up there. I'm clicking up and down on the directional pad in order to go up and down. In order to actually select a network, I'd have to move the cursor. So I hit right, and that will show me programs due to air in the future. And see, this one goes till 12 p.m. And it is 12 a.m. So yeah, it's very strange that the times are different platform to platform. So yeah, so if you notice, I move the cursor to the left and now it is cycling through networks. There's no way to move your selection onto the guide itself. You can't actually move it around in the guide from channel or from program to program. Not that you would need to do that, because you can't. There's no options for any of the programs in the future. No DVR options or anything. So I'm just trying to fast forward and rewind. Here I'm pausing. Now if you pause and you use the restroom or something, and you come back and you hit play, it will play with a delay, so you can continue watching a program. But if you make the mistake of touching the fast forward or rewind buttons, it does seem to snap you to live and you cannot rewind again, as I did just now. So be very cautious about that. Now if you press the sandwich button, the button to the right of the home button on the Fire remote, it brings up this little context menu, or this little sub menu. I'm having trouble triggering it, unfortunately. Every time I seem to bring it up and then try to move the directional pad, it goes away again. I'm not sure what caused that, but I've never experienced this before. When you eventually do hit it, you can control your quality settings, which is very nice. Say, for example, you just want news on your TV in the background, and you don't want to eat all your data cap, because most people have a data cap now. Comcast has a terabyte data cap. I eat through that very quickly, but I love just having news rolling in the background. So I can hop in the menu here and turn it down to 192p and just sip data. Very nice option. I wish it were that easy and flexible on other services, which some implement bandwidth control measures that you can activate. I just like the old-fashioned, I tell it exactly what resolution I want, and bam. Closed captions, a bunch of them. I'm guessing it's more for sports. And hitting back takes you back to the menu. Once you make a selection of that submenu, you have to wait for the menu to time out. You can't hit back because it will take you back to the menu, which is bizarre. Now we're going to look at the DVR. So a similar interface to the PC. Tells you when it was recorded. It tells you when it expires. Duration. On the right hand side, it tells you what your how many slots you have available. So 7 out of 10. A little info thing talking about the DVR. Interestingly enough, they have that on the Fire, but not the PC, which should be on the PC so people understand what a slot is and how it works. If you have a hard time following my cursor too, the highlighted region with the blue buttons is really subtle. It's really hard to tell where your cursor is. When you're on the episode, it's an orange outline. When you're on a button in blue, it's an ever so slightly darker shade of blue. Very annoying. But it functions, even if I lose where I am, where the cursor is. Keep saying cursor, I suppose it's a selection box. So we're playing back something off the DVR. Now here's an interesting glitch. If you hold fast forward, it will very quickly snap to forward in time. And then if you hit rewind before it responds, you get this weird effect. It is happening right here on the time scale. It goes into the negatives for some reason and glitches out. It just takes you back to the beginning of the program, but you can't really press and hold fast forward or rewind. You have to tap it. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm tapping it to fast forward and advance, and it works fine. So you can fast forward and rewind in the DVR. You cannot in live programs. And in pretty much any on-demand program, unfortunately. It appears as though all the on-demand programs have fast forwarding deactivated. You can rewind. You just can't fast forward in them. Just to clarify that. I might have said you can't rewind or fast forward, but I meant to say you can't fast forward. You can rewind. That's probably to prevent you from fast forwarding past commercials. And they probably don't know where those commercials are exactly. So just to prevent it altogether while giving you the ability to rewind back and see something over again, they just gave you rewind and no fast forward. Which means if you rewind too far, then you're in trouble. All right, so we're going to move on to the Roku. So you have a row of channels, horizontal, very straightforward. You have all your sports down below as I'm scrolling through them. Yeah, you get the idea. So horizontal scrolling of channels. All the channels are live. You have no on-demand content. You have no DVR content. You have a schedule, kind of. You have to click on a channel in order to see what the schedule is. But most annoying is they don't have thumbnails of what is actually on the channel. You have to hover your cursor over a network for the little text box to tell you what is live on that network right at the time. Very poor design. I'm not sure if they put this together with some sort of reference code that Roku gives out to streaming providers, but this definitely feels antiquated and dated. But then again, even big companies like Sony are just as guilty with the PlayStation View interface, which is just barely more functional than this, but I'll get into that in the View review. Not really much else to tell you about the Roku interface. It's extremely bare bones. It shows you can watch things live. That's pretty much all you can do. And you can't change quality. You can activate subtitles, and that's about it. That's all. I'll just continue scrolling through here a little bit and showing you some stuff, but there's really not much else to comment on. It's just if you want live access to these channels on Roku, you can accomplish that, but any other functionality is completely missing.
All right, now we're going to look at Android for the fourth time because I keep having technical difficulties. So the Android interface is very similar to PC interface, but not quite perfect. So here we have all the games with what networks they're on the far left, who versus who in the middle, and the watch and record buttons on the right. Scrolling through it, you can see there's no calendar. There's literally just dates, and you'd have to scroll through all these dates to see games farther and farther into the future. That's not too surprising. Sandwich menu in the upper right-hand corner. Opening that allows you to switch what type of game you're looking at. But we're not here to look at games. We're here to look at entertainment. So we tap on the entertainment tab, and we are dropped into the series. So up top, horizontal moving interface allows us to scroll through all the programs that are live right now with a yellow, orangish line representing how far through the show it is. Very straightforward. If we scroll down to recently aired, we've got everything that has aired in the past that is now on demand and we can watch now if we want. Below that we have upcoming. All the upcoming stuff, like for example, The Simpsons here. If we tap on The Simpsons, it'll open up a card showing us, a menu I should say, showing us the episode name, when it airs, and a brief description of the show. On the right hand corner, right under where it says FXX, is our record button. So we can set this up to record even though it takes place in the future, which is nice. You expect that of a DVR, is to be able to record things that are going to air in the future. So that's handy. Scroll down below all of those options, and there is a narrow, easy to miss field that says View All Series. But before we get to that, we're going to look down below. We have entertainment, talk, reality, music, talk, and sitcom, animals, cooking, news, and other. Nice. Click on View All Series up above, and we get a alphabetical breakdown of all the shows. So on the right-hand side of the screen is the alphabet. You just tap on a letter. It's kind of small on my screen, and my case doesn't make it any easier, but I can easily tap through and find things. Letter F, we can look for, Frasier. There's Frasier. Tap on that, and I get all the episodes of Frasier. Very straightforward. So going back to the main interface here, we're going to pop out of series and go into movies. Movies, it's very similar to series. Same sort of live now interface, recently aired, upcoming. And upcoming you can also set recordings for, which is nice. We've got all the categories down below. I'm not going to go through all those. Unlike PC, we can view all movies, and it gives us an alphabetical breakdown. We don't really need it, and I'll show you why. So G is, about 35-40% way through the alphabet, and we've got Guardians of the Galaxy already at the bottom of our screen. So tapping the G to move the screen down, which is effectively, that far from here to there, is a bit of a waste of, it's not really needed, but it's there just in case. So let's move on to the channels tab. Now, unlike PC, and unlike Fire, this one kind of sits in between. You don't get a full guide like on PC where it shows you all the different channels and the whole schedule for those channels. It just shows you what's on now. But it does it better than Fire does in the respect that, versus that tile interface where it actually shows you what the channel is, what is on the channel, what episode of that show is on currently, and when it airs and when it ends, or when it started airing and when it ends airing, with yellow, orange bar, progress bars to show you how far through the episode it is. So that's nice. It sounds like simple stuff, but with how bad some of the interfaces are for these services, like View and Fubo on Roku, it's important to note the actual functionality on each platform and how it differs. Because, you might not be the type of person that, picks up very well to technology, and maybe the fact that the interface is totally different, one platform to another in some regards will throw you off and confuse you until you get used to it. Pop over to the DVR function. DVR is, again, very different from the other platforms. You get these big tiles or cards, I guess you could call them, that you scroll through. And it'll show you, like on some shows, really massive descriptions of the show, like The Five here has a very big description. Yet, like I Love Lucy has no description at all. It just has the name of the episode. And it doesn't have date ranges, so it doesn't say when it was recorded and when it expires. It just says expires in 8 days. That's fine. Simple. I got it. Scheduled, and when you have things scheduled to record is exactly like the recorded menu, only you can't watch anything. So even if I had something in here it would look exactly like these, we just wouldn't have a play button and we could cancel the recording. Tapping on the eye in the upper right hand corner brings up our DVR FAQs, which is straightforward, same as the Fire. 10 DVR programs at a time. So if you have a program, I don't know if I've covered this or not, I might be repeating myself at this point. So if you have a program that's 30 minutes long, that consumes one of the 10 slots. If you have a program that's 3 hours long, that also consumes one of the slots, which strikes me as kind of weird way of doing it. But I guess, if you have 10 1-hour shows in your DVR, that's effectively 10 hours of recording time, potentially. If you watch really long things, like long sporting events, they're like 3 hours long. I don't know if they run that long, but if they did, then you get a little bit better bang for your buck. You get 30 hours of recording. So, yeah. Nice little interface, and that's about all there is to it. Settings is for account stuff, and you get the same quality adjustments as on the Amazon Fire. So that's pretty much all there is to show on here. So what I want to mention about Fubo is they only just in June got $55 million in investments. What do they call that? Capital investments. And keep in mind that they'd only operated since 2015 when they were a soccer streaming service. They only started really, operating on $25 million, and they just in one big lump got $55 million. So they've got a lot of money to very rapidly start improving their services. This is just in June. This was just less than a month ago. So hopefully we see a bigger push towards entertainment category and maybe away a little bit from their sports. Sports is always going to be, a focus for them, obviously. But if they can find the ability to fight against DirecTV and PlayStation Vue, I think they've got a pretty clear set path to do that. And they're already on more platforms than Hulu, Live, YouTube, they've got a good selection of channels. If you have to have CNN, obviously you're not going to like this. The streaming service you have to ultimately pick is going to be based on what channels you need. So, whereas this works well for me because it doesn't omit too many channels I would like to have, for $35, it does a pretty good job, and I've got my fingers crossed that they follow through on their promise and dramatically improve their DVR.
dramatically improve their app interfaces. And, at that point, if they could add Discovery networks, they would have me covered pretty much perfectly. Right now they have services for $35, the Fubo Premier, but that is a promotional rate, and that is going to go up to $50 at some point in time. It's a little bit like, as I gather, a little bit like DirecTV's promotion, where they had the Go Big plan for $35, which was actually their, what was that, $60 service plan? But FuboTV seems to have some of the channels that are really difficult to get together. I don't think there's any other streaming service off the top of my head that includes Fox, travel, and history. As I say Fox, I mean Fox News, not Fox Local. I can't really think of any. But I do know that you can get all those with big packages, but I'm talking strictly slim packages, the packages at $35. Because by the time you hit $79 for streaming services, like the big bundles from DirecTV and PlayStation Vue, you may as well just have old-fashioned cable, throw a cable box rental fee, get a service plan with a bundle with whatever internet service provider you have. And I think most people in the nation would have similarly priced offerings with actual hardware to back it, and not the crummy DirecTV no DVR functionality thing going on, where programs kind of work or not work, or 72-hour rewind functionality that kind of works and doesn't work. So, or PlayStation Vue recently increasing their prices, from their skinny bundle, which used to be $29 if you had no local channels, up to $39 now that they have decided everyone needs to pay the same price, even if you're outside of an area that they have local channels. Now, I can understand doing that for new subscribers. DirecTV did the same thing, where they had Go Big for $35 for a promotional period, and they increased it to their $60, default. But they grandfathered all the people on the cheaper plans. And I checked with Fubo. I keep saying Fubo. I think it's Fubo. I checked with them. They said if you get under their $35 plan, similar to DirecTV, they will grandfather you and honor that price without any increases. And as far as I can find in the details, it doesn't have any fine print that says they'll increase the prices. Like DirecTV said, even for the people that got grandfathered in under the $35 Go Big plan, they left fine print in that says that, they won't increase it proportionally, but they will increase it if the cost for all the plans goes up. So say all their plans go up by $10. Well, so do all the grandfathered $35 plan people. I didn't see any fine print like that with Fubo. Not to say that they wouldn't do it. Pretty much every contract nowadays has a fine print that says we reserve the right to, charge different amounts or change the terms of this agreement at any time without your notice. But I felt it was pretty crummy of Sony PlayStation Vue to increase everyone's prices by $10 when you still have no local channels. And even if you did get some local channels, I understand it's business, but to maintain consumer loyalty, you kind of want to not, irritate all your old supporters that had been with you for a long period of time. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of jumped ship on Vue, even though I think PlayStation Vue is far more capable and competent functionally than Fubo is. Fubo. Man, I can't get that right now. I think Fubo is a great, if it's not going to fit you now, I think it's a great company to keep an eye out on. They're independent. They're not owned by any major broadcast networks. They have had capital investment from Fox and a couple of other entities, I think Sky Networks. But, you know, there's no direct influence in the company that I can see that will push them in any unfavorable directions for their consumers. And they have pretty competent phone support and email support. In the email correspondences, I always got pretty straightforward answers, although some of my questions kind of got missed and weren't answered in reply emails. They did, once I focused on something and said, but you didn't mention, how do I do this? What's wrong with this? They, you know, adequately responded. And their phone system, unless there's an issue with the platform, and you have to leave a message, which is weird. How many phone supports do you call and actually get a message machine saying that everyone's busy, please leave a message and we'll get back to you? Seemed pretty pretty good. And, I didn't talk to them directly over the phone, but the message they left was pretty, easy to understand and sounded pretty friendly. So just the fact that they have any phone support is amazing, since Sony has no phone support for the View service and DirecTV has no phone support for their DirecTV Now service. I've heard some people saying, oh, but you call this other phone, hotline through Sony and they'll transfer you to someone that can help you with View issues. Or you call AT&T and they'll forward you to someone that might be able to help you out with DirecTV Now. They technically don't offer phone support. Either way you look at it. They might be able to help out a little bit, but it's pretty obvious from the website that they don't intend on providing phone support, and phone support people may not be adequately equipped to assist with all issues if you do manage to shoehorn, your way into their system and get someone on the phone. So I know I've been going on for a while now with nothing interesting going on screen, so I'm going to cut the video here. But this is definitely a company to keep an eye out on, especially with that massive amount of funding they just got. Obviously, news of it hitting and the fact that they are going to be getting it doesn't necessarily mean it's in their hands right now. Some of it may be coming to them in payments, for example. Some may not be released yet, but I'm very interested to see over the next, remainder of the year, what they're able to do with their platform, and if they continue to focus on sports, or if they continue this exploratory dive into the entertainment realm where they're directly competing with, big companies like AT&T, Sony, Dish Network through Sling, Hulu, Google. It's a very crowded marketplace, but they've got a lot of good things going for them so far. If they just continue on and improve things, it could very rapidly be a very major contender. Even though it seems like everyone else is farther along, seems like Fubo is kind of the underdog at the moment. So stay tuned for my review video comparing all the platforms, the pros and cons, and hopefully will help you narrow down what will work best for you, because you are an individual with your preference in channels, your preference in features, and your preference in patronage. So I will try to address that in a future video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.